Hello girls, this is chapter 19. Let's just do this as some revision, the last one before the exams. So, dum Scintilla, while Scintilla and Horatia are anxiously waiting Venusiae at Venusia, Quintus and his father had now, pluperfect, Quintus and his father had now marched for 9 days, novam dies, thlac, time how long accusative, had now marched to Rome for 9 days, montes et flumina, they had crossed rivers, pluperfect, they had crossed rivers and mountains, montes et flumina, mountains and rivers. The journey, pluperfect, had been difficult and intensive and effortful. Laboriosum tandem, at last, they were not far ablative from Rome. At last, they were not far from Rome. Quintus valde fessus erat. Quintus was very tired, but his father said, "Don't despair, my son." Fili, vocative there. Noli, imperative. Desperare, infinitive. He said, "The journey is almost finished. We are not far ablative from Rome." Postudie, the next day, they conspexerent, perfect tense, they caught sight of the walls, accusative, plural, neuter, urbis, genitive, of the city. And they hurried, perfect tense, they hurried to the gates. Nox jam venerat. The night had now come when they entered the city. Parvam caponem, so intraverent, perfect tense there. Parvam, they found, invenerant, perfect tense, they found a little inn, a small inn. They cernaverent, perfect tense, they ate, and afterwards they dormiverent, perfect tense, they went to sleep immediately. Prima luce, twab. At first light, Flaccus woke up Quintus, excitavit, perfect tense, and he said, "Veni," imperative, "come, Quintus, debemus, we ought, quaerere, to look for the school," genitive, of Orbilius, quaerere, infinitive. They, imperfect, procedebant, they were proceeding slowly through the streets, orbis, genitive, of the city. Tandem, at last, ambulabant, they were walking on the sacred way, and soon, venerant, pluperfect, they had come to the forum. Remember, the forum was like the marketplace. It was the place where people gathered to buy and sell and make speeches, listen to speeches. It was the business centre. Nec Quintus, neither Quintus nor his father had ever seen tam magnifica aedificia, had ever seen such magnificent buildings. Dius stabant, imperfect, for a long time they were standing astonished. Then spectabant, imperfect, then they were looking at omnia, everything, multa, many things, pulchra, beautiful things, bona, good things, but here it's omnia, everything. Hic, here was the temple of Vesta, Vesta, the goddess of the hearth, where the Vestal virgins were curabant, imperfect, were taking care of the everlasting flame. Illic, there was the Basilica Aemilia, where the magistrates, so that was the legal center point of the city, where the magistrates, dicebant, imperfect, were dispensing justice. Hic erant rostra, here was the speaker's platform, the rostrum was the speaker's platform, where magistrates were giving speeches, habebant, ad populum, to the people. There had stood the Senate house. This is where the government, the Senate, the 300 richest, most powerful men in Rome. There had stood, pluperfect tense, the Senate house, now lying in ruins. Aishwarya will know that's present participle. Ambusta, burnt in a riot, ablative there. Now lying in ruins, burnt in a riot. In front was the Capitoline Hill. This was the religious centerpiece of Rome. In front was the Capitoline Hill. Remember, we talked about the 7 hills of Rome, and we said the Palatine was for the rich, Aventine for the poor, Capitoline was the business and religious center, where there was standing a huge temple, Jovis, of Jupiter. Remember, Jovis is the genitive, irregular, of Jupiter, who was the ruler of the gods. It was the Roman equivalent of Zeus. They had looked at omnia, everything, pluperfect, for a long time. When Flaccus said, imperative, "Come, my son, we will stay," future tense there, "we will stay locative at Rome for a long time. You will see all these things often." Disceserum, that's telling us it's the perfect. They departed from the forum and they climbed the hill. Mox, soon advenerant, soon they had come to the school of Orbilius. Outside the door, they stood outside the door, ludi, genitive, of the school, steterant, perfect tense. They were able, imperfect, audire, infinitive, to hear children, recitantes, Aishwarya will tell us, present participle, and Orbilius corrigentem, present participle again, Aishwarya, correcting them. Non, however, they did not enter. Flaccus said, "Come, Quintus, We ought to find in venire, fourth conjugation verb, because of the IRE, we ought to find a lodging, and to buy, emere, to buy nova vestimenta, new clothes, neuter plural accusative, one ends with an A. Quintus and his father left from the middle of the city, perfect tense, disceserent, and they imperfect were proceeding to the Subura. This was the poor part of Rome, where the poor people, as it tells you, habitabant, were living. Ibi, there were no big houses, or there were no ides magni, there were no big houses there, but tall blocks of flats in quibus, in which many families habitabant were living. The streets were sordidae, were dirty and narrow. Multi homines, many men, currevant, imperfect, were running here and there. Ubique, on all sides there was shouting and uproar. Soon they came to a vestiarium, to a clothing shop. Flaccus bought a purple-bordered toga and a white tunic for dative for Quintus. Quintus, who, relative pronoun, nominative, singular, masculine, pluperfect, who had never had such splendid clothes, gave thanks, dative, to his father. Then they proceeded, perfect tense, into the Subura, and they were looking for lodging. Very well done, girls. I'll see you next lesson.